Okay, Teresa, can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
I love technology. All right. I believe Kathy Brooks is going to be heading up this session. Are you doing the introduction?
I'm going to do the introduction. Well,
Oh.
the panel members are really going to do the introduction, but I'm going
Awesome.
to start off.
All right.
So, good morning,
Take it away.
everybody. We're happy to be here with everyone. We're from Brooks Clubhouse, and I'm here with 7 of my friends from the clubhouse. And our topic today is planning for the future with an acquired brain injury, how a clubhouse can help. And we're going to be talking about the experiences of caregivers as well as survivors. And I'm not going to really introduce people. I'm going to ask each individual to introduce themselves. So our panel moderator is going to be Joe Sellers. So we'll pan over to Joe, and then we'll go around and each individual will introduce themselves and we'll take it from there.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to participate in this. I have to say that with all the adjustments on the Zoom meeting, and of course, I have this experience with online meetings frequently, but it takes me back to the days of the space program and Gus Grissom saying, how are we going to put a man on the moon if we can't talk between 2 buildings? And, I think at this point, we're talking between a lot more than 2 buildings. And again, thanks for the chance to share our experiences with all of you. What we're going to do is we're going to talk with both the clubhouse members as well as the caregivers, and just go over different aspects of having an acquired brain injury, how it's affected our respective lives, and also how to plan for a future with an acquired brain injury. My son Michael is now a brain injury survivor of 12.5 years. He's been very fortunate to have a really positive recovery. He's had many things go well for him, and you know, obviously we hope that for every person who experiences a TBI. Where I want to start is we'll go ahead and go around the room and let the members of the panel introduce themselves and give some brief remarks, and then we'll get on with the meat of the agenda. Michael.
Hey, my name is Michael Sellers. I had an injury 12.5 years ago. But I've been a member of the Brooks Clubhouse for about 11 years, I believe. I just like doing stuff every day. Things that are meaningful and upward towards my recovery are a great thing, and there's nothing that has gone on at the clubhouse that has not contributed to that. So now I'm going to introduce you to Grady Carlson. Yeah, he's also a member.
Grady's going to introduce himself.
Yes, he.
Hi, my brain injury recovering person. I acquired brain injury about 8 years ago, and on a bicycle I was, and so I had a very traumatic brain injury, not to say the least, but whenever a car comes against a bike, the bike loses. And I was fortunately
I'm Joan Carlson. I'm Grady's wife. We've been fortunate that Grady has come through this as far as he has come through, especially when they did tell us that there's no hope. He was in a coma for a very, very long time. I don't think he would be where he is today without the clubhouse. We've been very fortunate that it's within driving distance. So, yeah.
Hello, my name's Tom, and this is my son, Josh. Josh acquired his, he had a TBI and a stroke in 2008 on a motorcycle. You know, for us, watching Michael make his progress, make Josh make his progress through daily events and things like that. And just quite frankly, to give us a respite. You know, you love them to death, but 24 hours, 7 days a week, you know, it's like, okay, I need a mental day. Josh?
Yeah, see,
Quick introduction of yourself, you've done it 100
Yeah.
times.
and like he was saying, then it's good to come here and be away from them occasionally.
Works both ways, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
What work do you do, and Josh?
in the kitchen.
Good, thank you.
Hi, I'm Gina Merrill, Josh's mom. Josh is a status post TBI stroke patient of 15 years now. And the clubhouse has been a lifesaver for us.
Yeah.
It's done a lot of good things and helped a lot of people.
His progress has, you know, we were told at one point that we just need to find somebody, someplace to keep them comfortable. This is when we were still at the hospital. And this is before we ever got situated in the Brooks Hospital.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, you're not going to warehouse my son. It's just not going to happen. And that's when we started, you know, looking Tampa, Miami, Houston, Atlanta, and stuff like that. And then when the clubhouse became available, it was not very long after Joshua's accident. And it's just kind of like we went from Brooks day treatment into the clubhouse. And while we might not get all the OTPT and everything else, he was still getting that daily interaction and, you know, working through and helping him work through problems on his own.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody. And yeah, it seems to be a common theme among the members of this clubhouse, and I'm sure the other clubhouses that are represented here, is that, you know, every one of you were given very low odds, and here you are. So yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of things in common, both from the caregiver and the survivor point of view. This first topic, Josh and Grady and Michael, we're going to direct this more for you guys to address, and with a little bit from the caregiver perspective, but just initial adjustment to a brain injury. You know, you guys have had your lives turned upside down. It was kind of like we got a press reset. Where do we go from here? And the things I want you to think about as you address this is, how did your individual roles change within, you know, your circle of friends? You're certainly within your family relative to any siblings or other family members that you would have. What kind of financial strains have you had to address? And we'll pick up on the other two in a minute. But Josh, if you want to start, just, you know, how do you see your role as having changed from before and through the last several years? You know, what kind of impact?
Okay, well, all the friends, they're all gone. Don't have a single friend from old time. I was a drummer, had lots of fun, and the band, everything. 6 months after, they were all gone.
Why do you think that is, Josh?
Well, because that problem there that I couldn't do the same thing.
I also think that it scared them because it could happen to them.
They realized their own mortality. And yeah, it's, you know, at least with Michael and Josh, they were fairly young men when their accidents happened. And it's like, you know, and we were the same way. We thought we were invincible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also too, I think they weren't sure what to say.
Yeah.
they saw, he had several friends that saw him. And they ended up running out of the room to cry because they could not get over what they were seeing. It just, it wasn't the same Josh.
That's the one thing about my friends. As far as the friends relationship changing, you can't blame those people because
No,
as an individual, I'm letting you know, my friends, if I couldn't go out, if I couldn't call them one day and have them come out and party and drink, I wouldn't say no for you, but I wouldn't be relying upon them for so much fun every weekend. So it's understandable. It sucks, but it's understandable.
life goes on.
Yeah.
Their lives go on and it's not the same path. as ours.
And it's interesting that you guys jumped to the where have all my friends gone, because that was one of the items on the list here. So yeah, we'll stay with that one. Grady, how about yourself? Any major changes within your own circle of friends, your social circles?
Well, I have, fortunately, a strong family. And, that is, I got Joan Murray. I got her, she has many sisters, which really helps. And, they're encouraging, and, it's not just such traumatic thing when that happens. It's very supportive, and I've had it about years. About
You still have two really good friends that call constantly. Who did we just go visit?
Who?
Who did we just go visit?
Andy, Alex, going back there.
So we are fortunate enough that, a lot of the newer friends, or a lot of peripheral friends, after the initial, what can I do, and everything kind of settles into the new normal, they have kind of fallen off the way though. But he has, again, he was about 46 when he had his accident. He's got some really good friends that there might be a handful that still call, every couple months and say, hey, what's going on? We actually just went to visit probably his oldest, dearest friend who they've just been accepting that, we were on this great, career track together, and he's now CEO of a company, but he's still always reaching out, hey, let's do this together. And he knows we'll only come for a short time, 2 or 3 days at a time, because we just can't do the bigger vacations. But
Sure, still, that's great.
it is. But as I said, it's just a small core. Most of the other people, I think it's uncomfortable for them. They don't know how to act, and their life goes on, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, staying within the same area, we talked about the change in roles a little bit. Michael, I'm gonna pick on you just a little bit, because I know in our case, with your younger brother, 3.5 years between the two of you, and you were kind of like Wes's mentor, his brother. And I know the day that your accident happened, Wes was telling me later in the day, what am I going to do now? And of course, as time went on, he kind of became the big brother, I think, where, the cool part about it is he didn't give you any payback for your years of but I mean, did you also recognize that, or?
Yeah. When you suddenly have a different person to look to for leadership, and it's not so much, hey, what are we gonna do? He commands me to do this every weekend. But like when you don't know what you're doing that day, or what to do about it later, it's nice to have someone there to apply different events to 6 hours in the future. And so just relying, for me personally, again, very fortunate, just to have people around that you can ask to find the next event that you're going to, it's awesome. So yeah, again, I'm sorry if I'm talking about it, yeah. far off situation that not too many people are in, but you have to pick up on the tiny things.
All right, Josh, Brady, any similar relationships where you might have been the leader with respect to other people that were that kind of had to change a little bit, or?
Well, I haven't experienced the tragedy that I have before, and it's really tough to come to terms with. It really is. It takes a lot of perseverance and takes a lot of energy from your colleagues. And you also are, I find, a sucker for the, not a sucker, but a demand user of the activities. And I look forward to that, and the relationship that I have with God is definitely changed, without a doubt. In fact, when I was coma, I had experience with God, and God said to me, "It's all your turn. You're going back." And that I take as a really positive experience, because I know that I won't be going to the dark side.
Yeah.
Brady, you got 3 older children. I don't want to say adult children.
They are, unfortunately.
Okay, they're adult. How does that change your relationship with your adult children, if in any way?
Well, the relationship is pretty stable, but I tend to call my son Stephen, and because he walks like Stephen.
But, okay, we have a youngest son who was in Norway when Grady had his accident. He was on an exchange. And his name is Sebastian. Grady's brother's name is Stephen. So when he came home, when Grady was first starting to come out of the coma, it took him almost a year to talk. He would look at his son and see his brother. So for Sebastian, for a 15-year-old that goes away and comes back and suddenly thinks, "Where's my dad?" And Grady's thinking he's 18 and treating his son as his brother. I think it was hard on both of them at the time. But now, out of all 3 of our kids, he and Grady have the closest relationship. Where the other 2 who weren't there were not so hands-on because they were at college or university. Still come home a little bit and kind of not sure what their place is. Where Sebastian kind of is a lot more freewheeling with it. He understands mom needs a break, or dad's trying to say something, but it's not what's coming out. He still calls him Steven. But I think you understand who he is now.
All right, we're gonna hit one more topic, and then we're gonna need to get on to the next major area. As far as overall life management, obviously there were some serious changes between the before and the after. Things like medication management, self-care, preparing your own meals. Where are you guys with that? I know we've got a system worked out for you for your meds, but again, Josh, you want to lead?
Well, I better take
Yeah, as far as Josh trying to do his meds, he really doesn't. We have containers that meds go in and it's labeled with the date. And it's twice a day, and sometimes he'll remember it and sometimes he won't. So we've tried that to see if you can remember, and it doesn't work like that. As far as preparation of food and stuff, he will get in the kitchen and he will help.
Mhm.
But as far as cutting or anything like that, he doesn't do that.
Okay.
And with Grady's medication, we're pretty much the same. We've got, the container of pills and we leave it on the table so that we can see it as a
Right.
reminder. Because if someone, God forbid, someone comes and cleans and tidies up and we're having dinner, you move it, it's out of sight, out of mind. So we do try and keep it on there. And it does help the fact that, thank God, they are labeled Monday through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because even I sometimes am thinking, did you take them? But
Mhm.
for the most part, it's kind of a 50-50. If he doesn't remember, occasionally he will remember when I don't. Hey, did I take my pills today? Let me look for the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough with that. Food prep, Grady's never been a cook, thank God. But he does get in there and make himself snacks and eat all the ice cream we have. But yeah,
Good boy.
he is pretty self-sufficient in the kitchen when I'm not around, but I do not ask him to cook. God bless.
Michael?
Yeah, as far as the meds go, is my cell phone at 2 times, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. I'm lucky as, lucky as hell. I would take 2 seizure meds, and fortunately, that's all I have to take. 2 seizure meds and a multivitamin, and I'm good. And as long as I pay attention to 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. reminders on my phone. Yeah. Oh, and when I go off, I take the pills and then I note in my phone the time. Other than that, I wouldn't believe myself if I was all check. No.
Because we also have a log sheet where we can kind of double check. So every now and then, Dad, did I take my meds? I'm going, did you write it down? And usually if you didn't write it down, it means you didn't take them. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it sounds like, we've all got mechanisms of one kind or another to track it and to, make sure that either you don't miss a dose or you have an OD. Okay, we're gonna move next to the basic challenges that might face a caregiver. We talked a little bit about some of the routine things that we're doing around the house. From a work-life balance, when the injuries happen, how did that impact how much time you were able to devote to being a caregiver versus the commitment to work? What kind of physical demands are on you, as far as the maintaining your level of strength? And then what kind of resources might you have access to? So, I mean, again, going back to work-life balance, Joan, you want to address that first?
Actually,
And of course, you want to throw in the other 2 areas, feel free.
right. When Graydon's accident happened, as I said, 2 of my kids were out of the house, 1 was in Norway. I was a stay-at-home mom, just going back to the work field. So I never really got back there because my whole roles had changed back to caregiver.
Mhm.
In the beginning, there is no balance. It is all care. And it's not until he starts improving or recovering and you kind of get your life back under control. Because when you see someone who's doing nothing, you're in panic mode all the time. It has helped to be able to say, and it's very hard. It was hard for me when people come through and say, "What can I do for you?" Nothing. I got it. To actually, I would have to write down, these are the things I actually do need help with. And it is hard to let somebody else come into your house to do things. We are, thank goodness, way beyond that. Now we're on a very kind of even keel. Physically, it's turned from, and I do laugh because in our house we have pink jobs and blue jobs. I did nothing outside. That was a blue job. And he almost did nothing inside. So now I do it all. And I thank God for YouTube because I can fix almost anything in my house. And I do that now before, because your resources, your finances, ours have been cut by a third. I suddenly don't have the money to call somebody to troubleshoot. So I have to troubleshoot first.
Right.
Then I'll call friends who I think might know how to do it. And then I will call professionals. So a lot of that changed. And I just have to say again, our access to resources, 1, thank God for YouTube. 2, but thank God for the clubhouse, because before the clubhouse, I did absolutely everything. And there was no, there wasn't. And now that, Grady's able to come here 3 days a week, I suddenly have, anywhere from 4 to 5 hours which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is.
It is.
I can suddenly either just chill for the day, get things done that I want to do. I started playing tennis. Never thought I'd play tennis, but I started playing tennis about 5 years ago, only because I knew that Grady was in a safe space. He was doing some productive. You've got to go out and you've got to look for those resources because I don't know about the other clubhouses, but we've got a lot of activities, a lot of sports, a lot of things that we can get involved in if we choose to get involved in, which has been a
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have the clubhouse here in Jacksonville. And just to kind of jump on yours, for us, as far as caregiving and stuff, Josh was in the ICU for a month. So Gina and I both took all of August off. He was in there until November, end of September, and then we went to Brooks. And we were at the hospital, and they said, "Listen, we're about to have to discharge him because he's not participatory." And so I'm getting there at 5 o'clock, and they're coming in and giving him meds, and then about 30 minutes later, here comes OT. Well, he's kind of not doing anything, and I'm like, "What is it y'all are giving him before OT comes in?" "Oh, it's a Valium to help him relax." I'm like, okay, maybe we want to take a look at, look, and this is not a knock on Brooks, because I'll tell you, there is nobody in this room that will say anything negative about Brooks. They have been from the very outside of godsend.
Agreed.
But we still, as caregivers, have to be their advocates. They're dealing with 35 patients. I'm dealing with one.
So what was the outcome of not taking the Valium before? Did that change?
It did. We changed a lot of the medications. I took off all of September, twofold. I was there during the day with Josh for his PT and stuff like that. That had a twofold advantage. One, when we did get him home, I was there at Bennett. I could do it and stuff like that. And I could share with Gina, so when we thought we were coming home with a feeding tube, and then all of a sudden at the last minute, boom, no, he's eating solid food, everything else. It changed, it really did. It changed, but I forgot where I was going with this. But yeah, I mean, having the clubhouse here, and when we were looking to possibly moving, the fact that there are only 17. 17.
Yeah.
Well, I found 7
Okay.
in the whole United States of America. And I just look at that as there are so many people out there that need so much help that they're not lucky enough to have A, Brooks, or B, the clubhouse or something like that. And as that other lady said earlier, people don't look at me the same. They don't want to entertain me the same way or interact with me the same way. And it's, we're lucky. Our friends picked up, but then they start having grandbabies, and guess what? You can't blame them. I mean, like goes on.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
I have a question. When I was hit by a car, I noticed that my eyes can see things in sunlight, but if it's dark, they can't see it, even if it's on a computer screen or a DVD. And I don't know if that's brain injury related or not.
Definitely.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Because that started a few years ago after my car accident.
Yeah, I would talk to a neurologist first because they're, way more than any of us. And then an optometrist because they have experience on how certain injuries can relate to eye injuries. And that, talk to those two definitely before monitoring random strangers.
Yeah, no, honestly,
Because I go to the mill house.
about a year in, Michael had they called it a neurological eye exam, and it was, a little bit more than you're gonna get at Value Vision or wherever, but yeah, there were some interesting results that came out of that that might be something to take up with your neurologist, like Michael suggested.
Yeah, hi, this is Alfred. I'm also from the Mill House. So I'm a ABI guy as well. So I feel you guys. For me, let's see, I'm trying to remember here. So I had to, I couldn't walk. And so I took my physical therapy appointment, and so my physical therapist guy was like, well, it's not your body, it's your brain. And so just me being me, I was like, okay, great, another thing wrong with my brain. And so with that, I had to see a neurophysical therapist, which I didn't know was a thing. And with that as well was an ocular physical therapist, like in the same area. And so apparently my eyes weren't focusing correctly due to my brain injury. And so they helped me out with that. So I could actually see better without my glasses now. So, but it's not helping me with sunlight. My eyes hate sunlight for some reason.
Well, it's still good that you were able to get an improvement.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I was taking the whole gambit for like a year. Fortunately here, we have MCV, VCU, Virginia. It's a university. So the hospital is there. And so my speech therapist, my neuro guy, and my ocular guy were in the same little space. That made it easier for me. Yeah.
That's great.
I see a neuro-ophthalmologist here in Charlotte. So if you're not seeing a neuro-ophthalmologist, look for one in your area, because that will combine your neurology with your optometry and maybe give you better results than you've been getting from you're just seeing a neurologist and then a optometrist or an ophthalmologist. Just see if that helps.
I do go once a year to the eye doctor, the local one in Ashland. But I don't know if I need to start seeing him more after that, or.
I think you need more than just a regular eye doctor. You need someone who specializes in low vision and brain injury, because they are definitely related.
Okay, I'll tell my father. Thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
And I have a question for you guys as well. If you don't have questions, I'm not sure if it's question time yet or not.
Okay, thanks, everybody. I guess getting back, that's actually a very on-point discussion of access to resources, because, we just covered a very significant problem that more than one person has. So again, thanks, everyone. I know getting back to the work-life balance question, we are going to jump into the clubhouse here in a minute. From our own experience, I know you guys spent, I guess, probably every day, if not every hour, with Josh right after the accident. I know I didn't see the inside of my office for at least 2 weeks. And when I did go back, it was probably more just to say, hi, I'm still working live when I can. And, I said, they'd ask, how's Michael doing? It's like, well, he's winning. And that's all I could say at that point. And that was still more of a prayer than it was reality. But anyway, I guess we were fortunate in that the firm that I worked for at the time, was real good about not only giving the time that we needed to get through the immediate emergency and the few weeks and months that followed, but we also had a shared leave program that people could contribute their personal time off to folks that were in a similar situation. Gina, did your employer also have something similar? I see you nodding your head.
when he had the accident, I had 4 weeks of vacation and 2 weeks of sick time. And my supervisor was like, just call me whenever. And once I used that up, or I got down to about a week, she was like, do you care if I request for some leave for you? And I was very fortunate. I had over 560 hours donated to me.
Yeah.
And then they did it a second time, just because we were spending so much time at the hospital. I had another nearly 200 hours that were donated.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to our experience, and that was a real godsend
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
you know, again, getting through really until the time that Michael was discharged home to stay, which was about 5.5 months after the initial accident. You know, I was, you know, thank goodness for laptop technology and wireless modems and all that stuff, because I was working more out of his out of the room that he was at the skilled nursing facility that he was at before he came home. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's a huge change, a huge challenge, and it sounds like you know, you guys were also fortunate to have a backup system, because, you know, I look at after the number of years that you guys have been at the clubhouse, you know, I see many others. It's like, how do their families do it?
Yeah.
You know, if they don't have that flexibility, because even after the shared leave was long gone, it was like, you know, take the time that you need, but realize we're going to get what we need out of you. It's like, fair enough. It's just, you know, sometimes it's going to be between midnight and 4 a.m., not between 9 and 5. And, but it works. So, okay. And I know you guys touched on this a little bit already, but, you know, moving on to the next area about what kind of respite does the clubhouse provide for the family? You know, I know it's some time away. And, you know, and Michael and I will get going. My wife will tell us to be quiet. She's watching the same guy argue with himself. So yeah, we need some away time. You know, I'm going to start with this a little bit, and I'd like again for everybody to expand. And Josh, Brady, and Michael, you guys too. You know, it's a safe place. It's got productive activities. Everything that they do here lends itself towards the ongoing recovery and improvement of the member. It's a structured environment. There's a schedule to follow on a daily basis. You know, going back to the where have all my friends gone, it's like you got a whole new set of friends now, right? And then
They're in the same predicament.
yes, yeah, you're in the same life raft. And that's, you know, to that point, it's like you're not alone. So again, you know, Michael, I'll let you start on this one as far as you know, from not so much the family perspective, but, you know, how it's benefiting you. From our perspective, it's like, hey, he's out of the house for a good part of the day.
All right.
Anyway.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad to give you a lead. But you know, the having a job to look forward to is great, because I write our weekly newsletter, so it seems like no one cares, but that's what I thought at first. But lately I've been reading the article I write in front of the whole group, and it's awesome to see the reactions from people, to see an immediate review of what I'm doing. And we've heard it. I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and have an idea, and have to put it in my phone. Otherwise I'll forget it anyway in 3 hours. But yeah, so I have all their articles for like the next 3 weeks written, and every single one of them is going to me in the middle of the night. And if something gets you thinking, that far ahead, is definitely a job worth participating in, a job worth having. It's another assignment. It's fun. That's why I airport it. But yeah, it's another thing to look forward to, which is, Kathy, thank you for providing such a
Safe.
yeah, well, not safe, not just safe. That's all again, but something to look forward to every day. That is all that anyone should need in life. If you wake up, you go somewhere and expect a good time, get a good time. It's well worth it.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
I like how you refer to it as a job too.
Well,
A lot of people do.
Yeah, no, that's good. So So Brady and Joan?
What are your
Okay.
thoughts on the clubhouse and how it's helped you?
The clubhouse has definitely helped me positively. And it's because you have, I have, like with like, and I have a brain injury, and a lot of these, all these people, the rest of them do. So I don't struggle anymore day to day. I try to pick up where I left off and try to improve every day. And that's what I do. I don't have a choice.
And how does the clubhouse help you with that?
Pardon me?
Do you feel the clubhouse helps you with that?
Yeah, it's definitely helps me with it. Seeing people are worse off than you, and
Maybe knowing you're not the only one.
yeah,
Battling
you
this.
can know I'm the only one battling this.
But you feel that way sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you do. He does.
Yeah, member and caregiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me,
Not working. Working, what the clubhouse does for you, what it does for your family.
Well, it's good to be able to get out and let my parents have some them time. Instead of them having to worry about how's Josh doing? What's Josh doing?
why is Josh doing something? The amazing thing about Josh in his injury, he had the TBI and the stroke. So to repair his, they had to go in through the frontal lobe, causing damage. They told us straight up, we're going to damage him to save him. And we're like, okay, well, here we are, 12 years later. 15. He's sign language.
Yeah,
He has learned sign language. Now that is boggles my mind.
Yeah, well. No. Could be better, but I can't pretend.
Who is a member of the clubhouse, and that's how they came upon each other and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It's amazing some of the skills some of the members have picked up, the sign language. You know, it's almost like, you know, I would think that, you know, if you get the chance to not necessarily go back into the workforce or into the job market, but have a way of employment or self-employment. It's like, I think some of y'all have picked up some skills that you could take forward with you. You know, Michael talks about, I'm looking forward to Michael being back so he can speak for himself. But, you know, he talks about his writing for the membership newsletter. I think he really genuinely enjoys that. I think that's a skill that Michael can apply in a number of different settings. Okay, I know we're getting not tight on time yet, but we're getting close. So I do want to move to the other two main topics, and you know, it's sort of back on the main topic of the session, and that is planning for the future. And this isn't really a quiz as much as it is, you know, kind of where are you with thinking about this and these solid plans, and you know, considering that all of us as caregivers and the caregivers of the other members here at the clubhouse, you know, there are life expectancy considerations to think about. You know, we're not going to be here forever. We certainly hope that the ones that we're caring for are going to outlive us and prosper after that. And, you know, it's like, what kind of thoughts have you had about coming to terms with long-term needs? What's out there? What's solid? I mean, frankly, from our perspective, we've sort of thought about it. There's not really a cookbook that we created, or, you know, if this happens, that happens, and this person is now responsible. for
speakers.
whatever. Yes? Okay. And again, Tommy and Gina, I'll go to you guys first, if you will.
I'll take it.
Okay.
After the accident, we knew we needed to get some things in place, just because you never know what's going to take place. So we have it already set up. If something should happen to Tom and I, say at the same time, then Josh goes to my sister in Texas for her husband. If something happens to them, then he will go to their oldest daughter. And then something happens to her, to the next daughter, and then to our nephew.
Okay.
You know,
How did y'all make those arrangements? Is that legal?
well, what we talked about when we did our will, we made our brother-in-law the executor of our estate. Since Josh is an only child, you know, it's not like we could do it to another child.
Right.
So we make him the executor of our estate. So when something happens to Tom and I, then he steps in with a copy of the will and everything else and goes from there. We're hoping to be able to set up a trust here, but we'll also have to do a trust in Texas as well. So I mean, you know, we're working on those kind of things, and we realize that, you know, if something happens to us, he's probably not going to stay with that family member that entire time. They're going to be looking at places for him to go. So I mean, you know, we've kind of looked at all of that, and you know, I've had some people say, well, that's kind of morbid, but
That's
until
real.
you're in this situation,
I mean, we even have to worry about what if he's already had one aneurysm, you know, and they've told us that the next seizure could bring on the next aneurysm. That might kill him. I mean, that ties right in with Michael and I mean, time on meds. We are boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And I asked the uncle this one time, I said, how close are we? He goes, we are on the raggedy edge. We've gone through 4, 5 different.
Here we go. I'm back.
but it's important to go on and get something in place so that you know your loved one is going to be taken care of when you're gone. Because you don't want the state to wind up with your loved one. You want someone that you know is going to be loving and caring and that you trust and will have their best interest at heart. So.
And there's a lot of vultures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful about that. I know.
Where's the, I need to,
We're raising the hospital about 6 months. We was up in Shepherd Center and we're back down here using the hospital for 2 months at Brooks. And in that time period, and I do thank God Brady was where he was. He was always, I don't want to say paranoid, but always afraid someone was going to steal his identity. So he had our credit locked down way before that was a thing. And I am grateful because at least 3 times while we were in the hospital, because there are people that are looking, you know, they're checking out who's man, who's whatever, that we were hacked 3 or 4 times. And it wasn't the fact that he was locked everything down, because I was, and that's what the least of my worries was what's happening until, you know, I had experienced these other critics, people calling me saying, hey, look, you've got a new address in Texas. No, you know, we don't. So these are things that they might be morbid, but they are part of life. They are real. You know, like with Brady, as I said, we're lucky that we've got a strong family support system. And we're in a different situation because, you know, Brady is older than both Michael and Josh. So I'm hoping that we're both going to be kind of like the same, you know, not leaving him behind, hopefully. But we do have things set in place with my sisters, with our kids. You know, one of the things I did find out about is a labor deed, so that something happens to me, if Brady is still here, my kids are already on my deed. So there's no probate, nothing's going, you know, the money that we've been trying to save is not going to get sucked up with probate, the courts. My oldest daughter, who's about 28, you know, and I've learned these things as I've been going along, talking to other people. My dad passed away, you know, we put her on every account. So if something happens to me, she can step right in and she doesn't have to deal with getting all kinds of letters and reports saying that she can help out.
Right.
Because that's a huge thing, and that sucks a lot of money. It does.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of things you can do, and it's important to be proactive. You do have to think about these things because it is reality. I mean, nobody ever thought you were gonna get hit by a car when you took a bike ride, so, you
No.
know.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, it sounds like, you guys were, I'm gonna say ahead of the game just because, we've given serious thought to similar things. I don't think we've laid it down in concrete as well as you guys have. But that's good. Okay. Moving on to the last area, this is helping the survivor increase their own independence, which is kind of, with an eye toward what we just talked about, how much can the survivor take care of themselves? I think, we've seen this certainly with all three of these gentlemen, that over time, abilities are regained, abilities increase. There's things out there like community activities. And again, coming back to Brooks, we've got the Brooks Adaptive Sports and Recreation Program. We've got that available. I know Michael and I usually hit the gym 4 or 5 times a week. What other things are out there? I mean, what kind of things are you guys doing? Not so much within the Brooks Adaptive Sports, but within other things to keep active, keep your mind sharp and focused, and help with the ongoing progress of the individual. Michael, you want to?
Yeah, it's you can't say other than Brooks Adaptive Sports and NRC, because it's not just having things to do. There's going to be that in everything, but you need to apply yourself to looking forward to things. Like with me, the NRC isn't about 2 hours there. I mean, that's awesome, but dude, just every single day, like my dad said several times now, I know what I'm going to be doing the previous day. All right, I'm done with the call. Or say it's Sunday afternoon. Oh, this week's kind of boring right now. I got tomorrow. Oh, cool. Like, as long as you have something to look forward to, you're good. I love coming here. So I've got on Monday and Wednesday afternoons. When I have Monday and Wednesday afternoons when I settled down from therapy, and I'm just wondering what's going to happen the next day. I go, okay, I have a task to do the next day.
How does having that kind of predictable schedule help you towards further independence?
Helps incredibly well, because before the wreck, I went to work 5 days a week, sometimes 6. And I had always had that to go to and know what I'm doing. And I also did the gym. So I'd go to work for 8 or 9 hours, then you go to the gym for 2 hours. And after that, I'd shower and go to bed. Kind of boring, I guess. But it's good once you used to it. What about the other 2 families here?
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe. No, go ahead. We've been fortunate with Brady. First of all, I believe in always pushing limits, always, because it is easy to get complacent with this is already working. We don't need to change it, because there's a lot of comfort in nothing changing. But I do think with Brady, we are constantly pushing him to. Sure, you can do it. That's not a problem. It's not a problem. Even when in my brain I'm thinking this is never gonna work. Case in point is when Christy, we have an occupational therapist who helps out here. Christy had to go virtual, and when she called me, I thought it's never going to work. But she worked for over a year with Brady on Zoom, and to see him be able to use the technology on his own, because in the beginning I was trying to help as much as possible, and so she finally very politely said, I am sure there are other things that you could use your time with, Joe, rather than helping Brady, because he can do this himself. And again, to push him on the limits and say, okay, we're gonna take risks, and you have to take risks, but it's got to be a measured risk. It's got to be there's got to be a safety thing involved in it. But we've just been fortunate that we've got people that help us with technology. If it was up to me, we probably wouldn't have been there. But we've got resources. and taking advantage of those resources, even though you think, I can't do it or I don't do it. You do, you need to push it, really do.
What time are we working on?
12:01.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up. Does anybody have any last minute comments or questions? I want to thank this panel. Y'all have been amazing and you've done just an amazing job of addressing some of the concerns and the issues and the situations that I think most everyone who has a family member who's had a traumatic acquired injury face. And I thank you all very much. I think hearing it from individuals who've walked the walk is very important. We as professionals can talk till the cows come home, but until you live it, you know, I don't think you really know it. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Kathy, and all of you.
Joe, you did a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, Joe.
Like you done it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thanks, Craig.
You're welcome.
Rest and calming and, you know, I wish we had a little more time to
Yeah.
expand on that.
And even, his dogs were walking.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like,
You're muted.